Hey, it's Larry Sharpe here at FreedomFest having some amazing conversations. I stumbled upon somebody while walking around this floor, and I thought, you guys want to hear about this. Very interesting, a specialized, I guess I would say a specialized site, a specialized environment even. I stumbled upon the founder of Unjected, Shelby Hosana. Did I get that right?
Shelby.
I got Shelby. Shelby Hosana. She is the founder of Unjected. So, Unjected, it's a dating site.
Yeah.
And dating sites are all the rage. Sometimes good, sometimes bad.
Of course.
Right, but they're all the rage. I think if I remember the last time I saw the data, over 50% of Americans are meeting their girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife somehow online.
Yes.
And it's probably more by now. I mean, that's the last time I checked. It's probably more by now.
Yeah.
So why add to this? There's tons of them, right? Why add?
Right. Well, you know, in 2021, when I saw so many women actually being medically gaslit for having menstrual changes after being with vaccinated partners, working in occupational spaces like office buildings, or even just getting the vax themselves, there was actually almost over 100,000 women that had come together to create it's called My Cycle Story, to talk about their experience. And then I decided, what is going on there? And I dove into the Pfizer trials a little bit.
Okay.
And I thought...
So you saw a problem with 100,000 women getting together and thought, something's wrong.
Something's wrong.
Got it, okay.
So really, you know, not to add to the mainstream dating, but really just to provide a safe haven for unvaccinated people who were in the control group and knew exactly, you know, what that meant, which is to refrain from all exposures to trial participants.
So you actually weren't trying to add, you were trying to almost cut out a section.
Yeah,
Got
exactly.
it. Okay,
Yeah.
so I got to imagine you're going to have two types of reaction, right? One which is like, oh my God, thank you. Oh my God, wonderful. Another, oh my God, you're evil, you're horrible.
Yes.
So how did you handle both of those?
I've definitely had both of those, even here at FreedomFest, which
sure.
has been interesting. But you know, I was actually injured by the Gardasil vaccine when I was 14, and that was my experience with big pharma, as I like to call them. And so when I was pregnant with my daughter, and I really dove into the vaccine research, and you know, once you wake up to the truth, you don't get to go back asleep.
Right,
and
right.
So you know,
the good and the bad of it.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's better to be asleep, feels better, but no.
Right.
Once you're awake, you're awake.
Once you're awake, you can't go back.
Right.
And so, you know, my conviction really, truly is to help people maintain their health and protect themselves. And, you know, it's a medical decision that should have never been forced upon society.
Right.
Let alone
right.
we were, you know, outcast and, you know, our family relationships severed, friendships severed.
Yes,
and,
absolutely, yes.
Yeah, and so it's just finding people in this time when, you know, we feel so isolated, and just having that community, and also for people who are wanting to reproduce and you know, build families one day, the safety and security of knowing that you know, their partners are not going to have modified DNA. So you know, that was really what always just kept me focused.
Got it.
Focused.
So even when people are going, you're a bad person, you were like, it's fine, I'm moving on.
It's like, you know, tell me you've never read a vaccine insert without telling me.
Right,
you know?
right, got it. Okay, so let me go to the next piece then. How fast or slow or whatever did it actually explode? Did a bunch of people jump on right away?
Yeah.
Was it kind of a slow, then a tipping point hit? How did it grow?
So when we launched in the spring of 21, it absolutely exploded.
Wow.
To the point where a reporter from Bloomberg had actually reached out, and she said to Apple, and she goes, Apple, why do you let all of these murderous anti-vaxxers have an app on the App Store?
You know, when I saw you, the first thing I thought of you is murderer.
Yes.
It's the first thing I thought.
Right,
first thing I thought, she's a murderer. That's what I thought.
Grandma
yes.
killer.
Exactly, yes.
So, you know, they... Apple said, "Wow, you know what app are you guys talking about?" And she goes, "Oh, you're basically promoting the pandemic by allowing
of course.
this app."
Right.
So we were deleted that day without any
warning.
warning.
Oh my God!
Yeah, and
wow.
then Google quickly followed suit. They would actually send me, you know, items that people would post within the app. They'd circle it in red and they'd send it back to me, and they'd say, as a developer, you need to delete this harmful misinformation or delete the person who is creating it. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. This is our First Amendment right. And so we were removed there as well.
Wow.
So we kind of, took a stand against big tech in that way, and we did go to unjected.com.
Oh, okay. So you just went to the website.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. Okay.
So we do have more than
It's unjected.com.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
And so we have 100,000 people in more than 90 countries.
Oh,
so
that's great.
There's definitely like unvaccinated connection anywhere on the world if you're looking. But
I would assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, my assumption is you're going to get more people in the countries that had the more harsher mandates, my assumption, right?
100%.
Yeah, okay, so I'm right,
and,
okay.
And the bluer the state as well, you tend to see an uptick of members there. But
so funny, right? People would think, oh, it's all you red staters,
no,
but it's actually the blue staters. Got it, okay.
100%, like New York would be one of our definitely more popular places.
I'm 100% sure of that, yes.
And so, now actually that time has gone on. Obviously the tables have turned. A lot of evidence is coming out.
Sure.
So we are making a little, I just say the breakup makeup with big tech ever so slightly. So we will have the app coming back.
Oh, very good.
In the beginning of fall. And so we really anticipate that's going to just obviously, the younger generation loves apps.
Of course.
It's so useful. Just helping build out the mission and find the unvaccinated control group.
Is the site itself, it's basically, it's similar to one of the other sites, like the Tinders
Absolutely.
or the Hinges or the Bumbles. It's similar to those types.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you go to the website, you'll build your profile just like
Same
any
idea.
of these.
Okay.
Yeah, add your photos, interests, what you're looking for in another partner. We definitely have interest lists and professions lists that you'll never see at another dating site. They're very unique.
Okay.
9/11 wasn't an inside job. No 5G towers. Anything you could imagine.
Got it.
So you're definitely going to be connecting with people at a different level and a more, level where you match
funny.
with the kind of more morality.
I got to tell you,
and
I
conviction.
had a buddy of mine, still a friend of mine in New York, and I asked him, how did you know she was the one?
Yeah.
He said they were talking back and forth, and at one point he said, what do you think about living off the grid?
Yeah.
And she was like, oh my God. He was like, she's the one.
That's the one.
She's the one. That's it. She's the one. So yes.
And that's what totally happens. We've had lots of successful relationships and marriages and even unjected babies that have been born. But what I hear is people go on these first dates and instead of asking, these medial questions about what do you do or what's your life like, you just start diving into the most nitty gritty conversations that you have, and you really align with this person on a way that you wouldn't have been able to connect on a traditional dating site.
Sure.
So it's really it's an amazing experience to watch.
So
them
you're
unfold.
actually telling me something that seems kind of something I would not have thought of, but now as you say it, it's coming to me. This in a certain way, it's actually deeper. It's actually less superficial.
Yeah.
And somebody would think, oh, vax, that's superficial.
Yeah.
Like that would be what somebody would think. Oh, it's superficial. That's a silly thing.
Right.
But you're saying that initiates
Yes.
conversations that are actually deeper than just what do you do for a living or are you a twin or not?
100%.
Right.
What was the scamdemic like for you? Were you outcast from society? Did you lose your job? What convictions did you have to hold to be where you are today? Those are way different conversations than what's your favorite color of food.
Right.
So it's finding people that are like-minded, that respect you, and when you align on those morals and those convictions, it's a completely different relationship.
So what do you think the future is? Two questions.
Yeah.
For unjected itself, and then for this kind of movement, I guess I would say.
Yeah.
First, unjected. What's the future, you think?
So the future of unjected, obviously, we jokingly say we're the repopulation agenda. We're combating depopulation in a way for a healthy organic DNA.
So Bill Gates is mad at you.
Bill Gates does not like us very much.
He's mad at you. Got it. Okay. Right.
But definitely beyond just the online connections, I like to say it's like URL to IRL. Getting in real life is so important right now.
Sure.
Just like we were talking about yesterday in your panel with, what about next time around? What are they going to do next time?
Absolutely.
Are we going to be able to go to a grocery store? Are we going to be able to support ourselves and our families? And will they mandate us the same? And so when you have your community in real life, that's what's going to make this next part of the journey easier. But then even beyond that, like in a more medical way, there's a huge need for a unvaccinated blood bank. Also as well, donors for sperm, eggs, surrogates, breast milk donors.
Wow, so it's a whole lot, it's bigger than this.
It's an all encapsulating mission.
So let me ask you, do you have any pushback? Is Big Pharma, as you say, is Big Pharma, do you know, are any agents, are any people bothering you, or is something coming, is a pushback from them? Because I could see that if this movement is growing, that's not good for them.
Right.
Right? That's not good for them.
It doesn't help.
It doesn't help. So they may be like, okay, let's nip this in the bud now. Or are they kind of leaving you alone? Or do they think, she's going to fail, who cares?
Right.
Where do you think they are?
You know, it's probably a mixture of a little bit of all of it. I definitely feel like they convoluted with, Apple and Google, big tech companies, to of course, further eliminate us from the App Store or Google Play Store, just like they did with other apps. Instagram and Facebook were also captured. People have been extremely banned there. So, even on our Instagram pages, I've gone through 9 of them. They've gone after my personal. I used to be a photographer before I did Unjected. They went after my personal business.
They did.
They deleted. Wow. They've basically, censored and deleted anything to do with my life. Even
they tried to deperson you.
They did. My children's newborn photos. Anything you could imagine that had nothing to do with Unjected. And I do feel like that's the spiritual part of the battle, like you just said, to make me a not person. And so definitely, there's been a lot of pushback. And
so now that it's kind of loosening, kind of because the environment is, it becomes like, okay, now stop beating up on her, right? The people are like, stop, right? So that's happening. Do you think that means now they leave you alone, or do you think there's some other way?
Of course. I think there's always going to be some avenue, and even to protect ourselves from those potentials. Like we used to have a forward-facing directory for these sperm donors and egg donors, breast milk donors, and we were starting to be worried about HIPAA violations from Big Pharma.
Oh, right.
So there's like many.
Then there's a gazillion-dollar lawsuit that they can't win, but they will just bankrupt you in the court.
Of course.
Got it.
So there's lots of little side doors and avenues. I always believe that they're trying to go through, but we just know that we're working for the light. All of us fighting for freedom. We know what we're here for.
Right.
You just have to keep fighting no matter what. Yeah.
It drives me crazy that they just can't let people live their life the way they want to. Drives me crazy.
Wouldn't that just be easier?
It would be a whole lot easier. Yes, just leave us alone. That's it.
We don't want you here.
Yes, just leave us alone. Oh my God. Is there anything that I didn't ask that I should have asked?
I don't believe so. Well, anybody who's listening today can use the code FreedomFest for a free month if they want to come on over to Unjected.
Okay.
And then I do have a weekly podcast called The Unjected Show. It's kind of a play on the dating world where people can call in and tell us some interesting stories about meeting people in the wild, as they like to say.
Right. But is that on YouTube? Is that on your website? Where is that?
Banned on YouTube. So basically,
of course you are. I should have known that.
Anywhere else you stream podcasts.
Got it.
Of course, Rumble.
Okay, there we go. Perfect. I love that. It's great. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Larry.
I appreciate it.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so guys, check out unjected.com, and I will see you all very soon.